Hello everyone, I'm Cool Guy, welcome back, and today we're going to be going over the Reckoning 140 RPM hand cannon, the Spare Rations. It's obtained from Tier 3, I've also had it drop from Tier 2, and it can also come from Prime bounties, things like that from Gambit Prime. This is a really good one, it has a very good perk pool with multiple opportunities to snag a great roll. Now the Spare Rations is an outlier in the 140 RPM lightweight class, but it's also in my opinion one of the most well-rounded and best legendary hand cannons in the game, and we'll talk about that throughout the review. And before we get into the stats, let's talk about its competition and how the Spare Rations kind of rises above them. Remember, the 140s, we have adaptive frames and lightweight frames. Again, the Spare Ration is in the lightweight category. It has the same frame as the Midnight Coup, and a lot of players ask if the Spare Rations is better than Midnight Coup, and the short answer is yes, 100% it is. What Midnight Coup has going for it is that it has that tried and true and tested perk combination of Outlaw and Rampage, and when the Coup was introduced, there was only a handful of weapons in the game that had double perks. The game has evolved since then, and also a real big one is you can't put any mods on the Midnight Coup. What Spare Rations closely resembles is the old Dead Orbit hand cannon Dire Promise, very closely resembles it, but you can't put mods on it. But with Spare Rations, with all of its stats combined and how it handles, it's one of the closest hand cannons in the game to feel like a Destiny 1 hand cannon. For the base stats, it has a range of 38, stability of 49, handling of 73, reload of 60, aim assist of 92, and a recoil direction stat of 100. Back to that statement of it feeling like a Destiny 1 hand cannon, especially on console, lies in that 100 recoil direction, 92 aim assist, and 49 stability. I'm sure it handles wonderfully on PC, but on console it's a different world, so when weapons like Spare Rations come up, you pay attention to them. The perk pool allows you to add those stats in a big way for range and stability. We have 9 possible barrel options to roll. The ones to pay attention to are Chambered Compensator for plus 10 stability, Extended Barrel for plus 10 to range, Full Bore for plus 15 to range but negative 10 to the stability stat, Hammer Forged Rifling plus 10 to range, Polygonal Rifling plus 10 to stability, and one of my personal favorites, Small Bore, 7 to both range and stability. We have 8 magazine options, half of them extend the magazine, but the ones to look out for are Ricochet Rounds, plus 5 to range, plus 10 to stability. This is my favorite option and also is one of the more rounded middle perk options, and a lot of players think so as well. We have Armor Piercing Rounds for plus 5 to range. High Cals gives plus 5 to range. Flared Magwell gives plus 5 to stability and plus 10 to reload. In the first perk node, we have some really good options. We have 4 times a charm. Rapidly hitting precision hits returns 2 rounds to the magazine. Subsistence kills partially reload the magazine from reserves, but you have reduced starting reserve ammo. I want to know what you guys think about this one. I got a Subsistence multi-kill clip roll, and 2 things really stood out. Number 1, Subsistence has extremely poor reserves, as it states. It was a pain to use. I didn't like it at all, and possibly with Rampage it could be good. Now the second thing is it doesn't work with multi-kill clip because you can't reload the hand cannon until you get back to 13 rounds. Let me know what you guys think. We have Rapid Hit, top tier perk, Threat Detector, really good perk, Field Prep, not a bad perk at all, and we'll explore it later on in the review. You get a faster reload stow and ready speed when crouching. Snapshot, great perk, and then auto-loading holster. Now the second node we have Rampage, it's a standard, great perk, Kill Clip, multi-kill clip, Swashbuckler, Slide Shot, Hipfire Grip, Rangefinder, and Moving Target. But there's a couple perks that aren't listed, and that's because it comes on the curated roll. You get a chance at this roll from getting a collector medal, which is bank 50 motes in Gambit Prime. The curated roll comes with Overflow and Explosive Payload, 2 perks again not featured in the perk pool. Overflow on the Delirium is great, and on that machine gun it effectively doubles the rounds you get. So if you guys have it, let us know what you think. Otherwise, as a random drop, remember they're buffing the drop rates coming up shortly, you have a 50% chance to get a damage dealing perk in that second node, because Rampage is great, Kill Clip is great, Multi-Kill Clip is elite for PvE. And I do want to get one of these hand cannons with this perk to try in PvE and PvP. It stacks to a ×3, as we talked out with the bug out bag. A ×1 stack is 33%, ×2 is 66%, and ×3 is 100% or 2 times damage. So multi-kill clip is the best damage dealing perk in the game. But remember in PvP it doesn't scale like that. Swashbuckler is amazing. It stacks at ×5, ×1 is 13%, ×2 is 26, ×3 is 39, ×4 is 52, and ×3 is 65%. So its final form, it's Rampage ×3. But the cool thing about it is that you can get a ×5 after a melee kill, a full stack. It also lasts for 4.5 seconds, so you can keep chaining and chaining it. It lasts longer than base Rampage. You would have to add a Rampage mod to get 4.5 seconds from Rampage. There's a lot of potential when this thing drops for you, and I'm going to continue to farm for it once they up those drop rates. The top overall roll that you should be going for is going to be Rapid Hit and Multi-Kill Clip. I'm interested to see what it does in PvP, but overall it's the most lethal roll. But that's not to say things don't get interesting, because Rapid Hit with Rampage, Kill Clip, Multi-Kill Clip, or Swashbuckler works. Same goes with those 4 perks if you have Snapshot or Field Prep in the first node. So many chances to get a good one and a usable one. I do want to focus on the middle tier real quick. Range is very important on hand cannons, especially on console, as well as stability. I have two that I have masterworked. One is 4 times a charm with Rampage, and the other is field prep Swashbuckler. We'll go into detail on them in a second, but both of these have a range of 61, which is really good for these. Both have range of masterworks. One has Hammerforged Accurized, and the other is Hammerforged High Cal. This is the recipe you want to follow as with most hand cannons, but the Spare Rations has that 100 recoil direction stat, which makes it very vertical, very predictable recoil. 92 aim assist and a high base stability that's added to, and this is what makes it feel good in your hands. This is what makes it feel close to a Destiny 1 hand cannon. As for the rolls that I have, in the opening clip, you actually saw 4 times a charm working in PvP, which is kind of rare. I get my Rampage stacks up, it feels great. In PvE, this roll is able to hit headshots and just mow through ads, and as you do, you get a couple rounds back. You can lay into a major with Rampage times 3 and keep getting 4 times a charm. It's really good. Now the other one, Field Prep Swashbuckler, is amazing. Think of Field Prep as a makeshift outlaw anytime that you want it. Just crouch, get a quick reload in, move on with your day. Don't be disappointed if Field Prep falls for you. Work with it and get its benefits. I'm a big fan of Swashbuckler, and Swashbuckler is far superior to Rampage for PvP solely due to the fact that you can proc a times 5 after a melee kill. So you come out of that melee with essentially Rampage times 3. And in PvE, you just melee an ad and start going to town on all the other enemies. In PvP though, you get into melee battles a lot, but you come out doing 90 to the critical. And to go further, it's coded to the melee abilities, so Hunters, you can get a kill with a throwing knife, a Tempest Strike, and after you do, you get the times 5 buff. Warlocks, you can get a melee with the Karnsteins, keep having that health regen. Or maybe you can use a Stormcaller extended melee, and Titans, well, I mean, Titans punch things, so it just works. But that's going to be the deciding factor for PvP compared to Rampage. You're able to use those melee abilities and come out doing 90 to the head. Overall for PvE, this is a really good tool to have depending on your role. Again, there's multiple roles that you can get. And maybe Midnight Q comes back one day at some point with random rolls, but the Spare Rations does have more base range, and regardless, Spare Rations has a lot going for it. Especially with its damage dealing perks, again, 50% of the time you're going to get a nice damage dealing perk. There's no complaints from me. In PvP, it does 68 to the head and 43 to the body. 3 headshots is a 0.8 time to kill, and that's the fastest TTK out of all hand cannons, outside of a couple 2 taps from 110s and of course a 3-shot kill from the 180s. The range and stability make it handle wonderfully, and I've been using it extensively since I got mine. It keeps its damage at a pretty decent range, and the damage dealing perks artificially push out that effective range. Kill clip, multi-kill clip, Rampage, they're all good, and with Swashbuckler, again, it does work with your melee abilities. It has me sold. You can do a lot of things with it. It's a very reliable hand cannon. However, in case you were wondering, Luna and Not Forgotten doesn't care about a Swashbuckler times 5. Which this is expected at this point, but that doesn't mean that this isn't a top tier option in the Crucible. In conclusion, Spare Rations is pretty special. If you're a hand cannon user in PvE or PvP or both, this is pretty much a must have. Due to its extensive perk combinations, as well as how the base stats make this hand cannon handle, it's the best feeling one to me outside of Kindled Orchid that isn't a 180 on console. It really opens up your loadout. This one is the closest I have felt to a D1 hand cannon, and that's my honest assessment. So if you're new to the channel, remember to hit the subscribe button. If you are subscribed, thank you guys so much for your continued support. We're almost at 75,000, you rock. But what are your thoughts on Spare Rations? What roles do you have? Let's talk about it in the comment section. Thank you guys for watching, and until the next one, I am Cool Guy.
Double down, triple down, fantastic work. For 1. Yes! 3 down! This is amazing! Double down! Yes! 3 down! Nay, enemy claimed Zone C. Double down! 3 opponents down. Fantastic work. You're unstoppable.